Hello, my name is Natalia Makarova, and I'm a ballerina, not a storyteller. But I was born and grew up in Russia, and when I was a little girl, my grandmother used to tell me many fairy tales. Russian fairy tales are so beautiful and so exciting, and I want to share one of them with you. I used to imagine myself as a princess, because in each story the princess is always so beautiful, so wise, and so kind. Maybe it is strange, but the image of that princess helped me through my life, even on stage when I was dancing. In the story I'm going to tell you, the princess first appears as a frog. This story tells you not to judge people by how they look. The most important thing is how beautiful you are on the inside, how kind you are and intelligent. Believe me, that will bring you more happiness. Now let me tell you the story about the frog princess and her prince Ivan. The music to go with the story is by the Russian composer Sergei Prokofiev and is played by my friend Karel Rosenberger. Once upon a time, there was a princess called Vasilisa the Wise and Clever. She was wiser and cleverer than anyone else in the kingdom, including the king. Vasilisa was so wise and clever that Koschei, the evil spirit, was very jealous of her. She was also very beautiful, especially when she wore her dress of sky blue silk studded with stars and a crescent moon in her hair. In another kingdom, not far away, there lived a Tsar. In Russia, that's the name for king, who had 3 sons. One morning, the Tsar called his 3 sons to him. "My dear sons," said the Tsar, "the time has come for you to marry." "Where will we find our brides?" they asked. "You must each take an arrow and go out into the open field," said the Tsar. "You must shoot the arrows, and wherever they fall, you will find your destined brides." Promising their father to do this, each of the 3 sons took an arrow and went out into the open field. They drew their bows and let the arrows fly. The arrows flew high into the sky until they disappeared. When they had each shot their arrows, the 3 brothers set off on foot, each in search of his own arrow. The oldest son's arrow fell in a nobleman's courtyard and was picked up by the nobleman's daughter. The middle son's arrow fell in a rich merchant's yard and was picked up by the merchant's daughter. As for the youngest son, the Prince Ivan, in Russia it's called Tsarevich Ivan. His arrow shot up and flew so far he couldn't seem to find it. He walked on and on, looking for his arrow and thinking about his bride-to-be. Finally, he reached a marsh. And what should he see sitting there with the arrow in its mouth but a small green frog? "Frog, frog," said Tsarevich Ivan, "give me back my arrow." "I will, if you marry me," replied the frog. "What do you mean? How can I marry a frog?" "You must, for I am your destined bride." Tsarevich Ivan felt sad and confused and bewildered. But there was nothing to be done. Since he had promised his father, he picked up the frog and carried it home. The church bells rang, the weddings were celebrated just as the Tsar had wished. The oldest son was married to the nobleman's daughter, the middle son to the merchant's daughter, and Tsarevich Ivan to the frog. Soon the Tsar called his sons to his side once again. "I want to see which of your wives is the best needlewoman," he said. "Let them each make me a shirt by tomorrow morning." Tsarevich Ivan came home, sat down, and put his head between his hands. And the frog hopped over to him and asked, "What's troubling you, Tsarevich Ivan?" "Father asks that you make him a shirt by tomorrow morning." "Don't worry, Tsarevich Ivan," said the frog. "Just go to bed, for morning is wiser than evening. Утро вечера мудренее." "Утро вечера мудренее. Morning is wiser than evening," repeated Ivan, feeling comforted, and went to bed. Tsarevich Ivan was asleep, the frog hopped out onto the terrace. And there, under the shimmering light of the moon, cast off her frog skin and transformed herself into none other than Princess Vasilisa the Wise and Clever. How had Vasilisa come to be a frog? You can be sure the evil spirit Koschei had something to do with it. But here, in the shimmering moonlight, she appeared as beautiful as ever. And then and there, in a magical way, she made a beautiful embroidered shirt, just like the ones her father, the king, used to wear. When Tsarevich Ivan awoke in the morning, there was the frog hopping around on the floor again. But the shirt was all ready and lying on the table. Tsarevich Ivan was overjoyed. He took the shirt to his father. The Tsar was busy receiving the shirts from his other sons. He looked very disappointed with the shirts. But when Tsarevich Ivan laid out his shirt, all beautifully embroidered in gold and silver, the Tsar said, "Now that is a shirt to wear on holidays." The older two brothers went home and said to their wives, "It seems we were wrong to laugh at Tsarevich Ivan's wife. She is not just a frog. She must be a witch." Soon the Tsar again called his sons to him. "Let your wives bake me some bread by tomorrow morning," he said. "I want to know which of them is the best cook." Tsarevich Ivan returned home even more unhappy than before, and the frog asked him, "Why are you so sad, Tsarevich Ivan?" "You are to bake some bread for my father by tomorrow morning." "Don't worry, Tsarevich Ivan. Just go to bed, for morning is wiser than evening. Утро вечера мудренее." "Утро вечера мудренее. Morning is wiser than evening," repeated Ivan, feeling comforted, and went to bed. Her two sisters-in-law, who had laughed at the frog at first, now sent an old woman who worked in the kitchen to see how the frog baked her bread. But the frog was clever and guessed what they were up to. She prepared some dough, broke all the top of the stovepipe, and threw the dough down the hole into the ashes. The old woman scampered off to the two sisters-in-law and told them all about it, and they did as the frog had done. Once again the frog hopped out onto the terrace, shed its skin, and turned into Vasilisa the wise and clever. In the shimmering moonlight she made a fine loaf of soft white bread, the kind her father used to like. And when Tsarevich Ivan awoke in the morning, there was the bread already laid out on the table. It was beautifully decorated on top. Once again the Tsar was disappointed in the offerings of his two older sons. Their wives had dropped the dough into the stovepipe, as the old woman had told them to do, and the loaves had come out charred and lumpy. But he praised the fine loaf brought by his youngest son, Tsarevich Ivan, using the same words as before. "Now, that is bread to be eaten only on holidays." Soon the Tsar called his sons to him again, proclaimed a feast for the next day, and told them to bring their wives. Once again Tsarevich Ivan came home sad and discouraged, and the frog hopped over to him and said, "Why are you so sad, Tsarevich Ivan? Has your father hurt you? Did he say something unkind?" "Oh, frog, frog," cried Tsarevich Ivan, "how can I help being sad? The Tsar has ordered me to bring you to his feast, and how can I show you to people?" The frog said in reply, "Don't worry, Tsarevich Ivan. Just go to the feast alone, and I will follow later. When you hear great clattering, don't be afraid. If they ask you what it is, say, 'That is my frog riding in her box.'" So Tsarevich Ivan went to the feast alone, and his older brothers came with their wives, who were all dressed up in their finest clothes. They made fun of Tsarevich Ivan. "Why have you come without your wife?" they asked. "You could have brought her in a handkerchief. Where did you find such a beauty? You must have searched all the swamps for her." Now the Tsar, with his sons and his daughters-in-law and all the guests, sat down to feast at the wooden tables covered with embroidered cloths. Suddenly there was a great clattering, and the whole palace shook. The guests were frightened and jumped up from their seats. But Tsarevich Ivan said, as his wife had instructed him to, "Don't be afraid. That's only my frog riding in her box." There, dashing up to the terrace of the Tsar's palace, was a gilded carriage drawn by 6 white horses, and out of it stepped none other than Princess Vasilisa the Wise and Clever. She was more beautiful than ever. She wore her sky-blue silk gown, studded with stars, and on her head she wore the bright crescent moon. She took Ivan by the hand and led him to the wooden tables covered with embroidered cloths. The guests began eating and drinking and having a good time. Vasilisa the Wise and Clever drank from her glass and poured the last few drops into her white left sleeve. She ate some swan meat and threw the bones into her wide right sleeve. And the wives of the elder sons saw what she did, and they did the same. The guests ate and drank, and then the time came to dance. Vasilisa the Wise and Clever took Tsarevich Ivan by the hand and began to dance. She danced and whirled and circled round and round and round, and everyone watched and marveled. And when she waved her left sleeve, a lake appeared. When she waved her right sleeve, white swans began to swim upon the lake, and the Tsar and his guests were filled with wonder. Then the wives of the two older sons began dancing. They waved their left sleeves and splashed wine over the other guests. They waved their right sleeves, and bones flew out on all sides, and one bone hit the Tsar in the eye. The Tsar was not very happy about that. In the meantime, Tsarevich Ivan was so enchanted with his wife's true form that he slipped out of the dining hall and ran home to find the frog skin. When he found it, he threw the frog skin into the stove and burned it, thinking that now his wife could never return to being a frog. When Vasilisa the Wise and Clever came home, she saw at once that her frog skin was gone. She sat down on a bench, very sad, and said to Tsarevich Ivan, "Oh, Tsarevich Ivan, what have you done? If you had waited just 3 more days, we could have been together forever. But now, farewell. Look for me beyond the most distant kingdom of Kashchei, the evil spirit." With that, Vasilisa the Wise and Clever turned into a grey cuckoo bird and flew out of the window. Tsarevich Ivan cried and cried and wept for a long time. Tsarevich Ivan dried his tears and set off. He didn't know where to look for his wife, Vasilisa the Wise and Clever. He searched here and there, far and wide. His boots were worn and his cap battered by the rain. After a time he met a little old man who was as old can be. "Good day, young man," he said. "What are you looking for, and where are you going?" Tsarevich Ivan told him about his trouble. And the little old man, who was as old can be, said, "Ah, Tsarevich Ivan, why did you burn the frog skin? It was not yours to wear or to do away with. Vasilisa the wise and clever was born wiser and cleverer than her father, and Koschei, the evil spirit, made him so jealous that he allowed Koschei to turn his daughter into a frog for 3 years. Ah, well, it can't be helped now. Here's a ball of thread for you. Follow it without fear, wherever it rolls." Tsarevich Ivan thanked the little old man, who was as old can be, and set off once again, following the little ball wherever it rolled. In an open field, Tsarevich Ivan met a bear. He took aim and was about to kill it, but the bear spoke up in a human voice and said, "Do not kill me, Tsarevich Ivan. You may need me someday." Tsarevich Ivan took pity on the bear and let him go. Soon he saw a drake flying overhead. Tsarevich Ivan once again took aim, but the drake said to him in a human voice, "Do not kill me, Tsarevich Ivan. You may need me someday." And Tsarevich Ivan spared the drake and went on. Just then a rabbit came running. Tsarevich Ivan took aim quickly and was about to shoot it, but the rabbit said in a human voice, "Do not kill me, Tsarevich Ivan. You may need me someday." And Tsarevich Ivan spared the rabbit and went farther. He came to the blue sea and saw a pike lying on the sandy shore, gasping for breath. "Oh, take pity on me, Tsarevich Ivan," said the pike. "Throw me back into the blue sea." So Tsarevich Ivan threw the pike into the sea and walked on along the shore. Whether a long time passed or a little time, no one knows. But after a while the ball of thread rolled into a forest, and in the forest stood a little hut. Tsarevich Ivan entered, and there, on the edge of the stove ledge, lay Baba Yaga, the witch. Russians call her Baba Yaga, Ведьма. Her crooked nose was pressed to the ceiling. Tsarevich Ivan told her that he was looking for his wife, Vasilisa the Wise and Clever. Exclaimed the witch. "I know where she is. Koschei, the evil spirit, has her in his power. It will be hard getting her back, for it is not easy to get the better of Koschei." And then she sat him down and told him a very strange tale indeed. "Koshchei's ruin," said the witch, "is at the point of a needle. The needle is in an egg, the egg in a duck, the duck in a rabbit, the rabbit in a stone chest, and the chest at the top of a tall oak tree, which Koshchei guards as the apple of his eye. Ha ha ha! Only when you have succeeded in breaking off the point of this needle will Koshchei, the evil spirit, be conquered, and will you recover your wife." The next day, Tsarevich Ivan set off in search of the oak tree. Whether he was long on the way or not, no one knows. But after a while he came to the tall oak tree. It stood there, rustling and swaying, and the stone chest was at the very top of it, and very hard to reach. All of a sudden, the bear came running and pulled out the oak tree, roots and all. Down fell the chest, breaking open as it went, and out shot the rabbit and ran away as fast as it could. But then the other rabbit appeared and gave it such a start that it gasped and coughed, and out of its mouth flew a duck, frantically flying up to the sky. But right away the drake was upon it and gave it such a fright that it dropped the egg, which fell down, down into the deep blue sea and out of sight.